bold prediction time. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports all back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about the Chicago Bears and give you guys my 5 bold predictions for the Bears for the upcoming 2022 NFL season. So if you are new to the channel, guys, hit the big red subscribe button down below. Make sure to follow me on all my social media platforms. As always, let's get into it. All right, so as I mentioned, this is going to be bold predictions, not just normal predictions, bold predictions. So I want you to go ahead and highlight and underline the word bold because that is what it's going to be, all right? So it's not going to be like, oh, Justin Fields is going to throw more touchdowns this year than last year. Duh. All right, no, I'm going to go ahead and make it fun, make it interesting for you guys, and make it a little crazy. So these might sound crazy, but I try to balance between crazy and doable. All right, so they're going to be bold, and I'm going to start at 5, go all the way to number 1. So 5 is going to be the least bold prediction, and number 1 is going to be the boldest prediction, okay? So with that being said, let's get into it. Start at number 5. That is David Montgomery finishes top 5 in the NFL in rushing. Now, why is this the least bold prediction? Well, that's because it's already happened once, and that was 2 years ago. Monty did this, okay? And I believe it happens again. Why? Because of the new scheme. The new scheme with Luke Getsy is the wide zone run scheme that Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan famously run, and that focuses on pounding the rock. We've seen how the 49ers run the football over the past number of seasons. I believe the same thing happens with the Bears this year. They turn into a primarily running football team. That is going to help Justin Fields, but that is also going to benefit this team because we've got guys on this team now, wide receivers that can block. We've shored up the offensive line. The schedule's pretty cake, right? We've got an easy schedule, a top 5 strength of schedule in terms of the easiest strength of schedule, if you will. So the Bears are set up to run the football a lot. And that is going to benefit Monty, who is a good runner, right? He is going to go ahead and run a lot. Now, again, Khalil Herbert's going to mix in here, but Monty's the belt guy. He's the workhorse. So I believe he does it. He finishes top 5 in rushing like he did 2 years ago. All right, let's move on to number 4, which is Darnell Mooney finishes top 10 in receiving yards. Now, you might be thinking, Faiz, you just told me we run the football a lot. So now you're telling me Mooney's going to finish top 10 in receiving? Yes, and here's why. Just because we're running the football a lot, and I believe we are a lot, doesn't mean we're not throwing it all here. All right, let's just be honest about this. Like, we are going to throw the football, but it is going to only be to certain guys for the most part. Like, I believe the only receiver that has any sort of connection, chemistry with Justin Fields is Darnell Mooney. And this man, in the most dysfunctional offense I can remember in a long time, last year with Matt Nagy and his staff, had over 1,000 yards receiving. So now with a functional offense that I hope Luke Getsy is running, obviously, and another year of chemistry with Justin Fields, do I not think that Darnell Mooney can top that? I do, because the Bears don't have anyone else on this team, right? I'm not depending on Brian Pringle. I'm not depending on Velus Jones Jr. I'm not depending on any of these other guys. Mooney is the lone receiving threat at the wide receiver spot. Keyword, wide receiver spot. You'll see why. And so that's why I believe he does it. Last year, he finished 19th in terms of the NFL in receiving yards. So we're talking about a 9-spot jump, which I think can happen with no A-Rob here and Mooney being the number 1 undoubtedly receiver. Number one receiver without a doubt. All right? And we're probably talking about Mooney getting about 1,200 yards to be able to achieve this number, which isn't crazy. Again, bold, not crazy. So Darnell Mooney finishes top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards, my number 4 bold prediction. Let's move on to number 3, and that is Cole Kmet finishes top 5 in receiving yards for tight end. Now, again, you might remember what I said. The only established receiver, wide receiver, that Justin Fields has is Darnell Mooney, but I did not say tight end, right? Because I said receiver. Tight end-wise, it's Cole Kmet. And we know Cole Kmet had a decent year last year. He just couldn't get into the end zone to save his life. No touchdowns for Cole Kmet. That's pathetic. That needs to change. But more importantly, the same concepts apply here. The only weapons you've got on offense that you're depending on, that you trust if you're Fields, until otherwise, is Mooney and Kmet. And Kmet's probably going to get a lot of balls in the middle of the field with those crossing routes, with those mesh routes, and I can easily see him getting 700, 800 yards. Like last year, he had 600, so I can see him topping that. And last year, he finished 13th in the NFL in receiving yards, so we're talking about a jump of about, 7, 8 spots, if you will. Again, not likely, but not crazy, right? This is supposed to be bold. So, Kmet finishes top 5 in receiving yards for a tight end. Let's move on to prediction number 2, which is Robert Quinn does not lead the Chicago Bears in sacks. Yeah, I said it. Robert Quinn doesn't. Now, you might be thinking the easy out Faiz is Robert Quinn's probably going to get traded. No, I'm saying even if Robert Quinn doesn't get traded, I believe there is a chance he doesn't lead this team in sacks. And why is that? Because I just don't think Robert Quinn is going to be very involved mentally, if you will, with this team. We know the Bears won't be very good this season. So I believe Robert Quinn, who's going to get a year older, probably not going to be able to duplicate what he did last year, right? It's very hard to duplicate what you did in a peak season. And I see guys that, are going to be on this defensive line like a Al-Qadim Muhammad, like a Travis Gibson, to be able to take advantage of potential double teams that Robert Quinn gets. So Robert Quinn could be getting the Aaron Donald treatment, if you will. We know he's nowhere close to being as good as Donald, but he could get that double team treatment, and that could open it up for other guys. I'm not saying somebody's going to beat Quinn by like 5 sacks, but it could even be 1 sack, and it could work. So, number 2 prediction, Robert Quinn does not lead the Bears in sacks. And finally, prediction number 1, my boldest prediction, which is Justin Fields has a combined 30 touchdowns. All right, 30. Now, you might be saying, Faiz, 30 really combined, which means running and throwing. Now, I could have said 25, but that's not bold enough. It's just not. Last year, what did Justin Fields have? He had 7 passing touchdowns, right? And he had a couple rushing touchdowns, but nothing crazy. And so I'm basically done with it. If you want me to bring it down to 25, I can, folks, but I just want to make it super bold and say 30. So we're talking about Justin Fields throwing for 25 touchdowns, maybe rushing for 5 TDs. Or if you want to do 25, we could say Justin Fields throws for 20 touchdowns, which is very possible, and rushes for 5 touchdowns. But that seemed too likely to me. So I'm going to go ahead and say 30, all right? And I didn't say 4,000 yards here for a specific reason, because I told you the Bears are going to be a running football team. So I believe it is going to be more incumbent on Justin Fields to get touchdowns than throw the football a lot, just because I don't think we'll be throwing a lot. So, yeah, I think Justin Fields in this offense is going to be able to be very efficient, and he's going to be able to throw the touchdowns, and he's going to be able to go ahead and rush as well, because I think we're going to go a lot of bootlegs, a lot of a lot of Justin Fields on the run. So, yeah, I know it's bold, probably the most unlikeliest prediction out of all, but that's why I said bold. So there you have it, my number 1 bold predictions. Justin Fields breaks out, 30 TDs combined. Let me know what you guys think about that. So there you have it, folks, my 5 bold predictions for the Chicago Bears. If you agree, disagree, leave a comment down below. Give me your bold predictions. I'm going to tell you if you guys are crazy or if you actually might be onto something. As always,